Hello, and welcome back to another episode of It's Always Sunny in Your Dreams, where today we are talking about two films that explore the idea of dreams: Paprika by Satoshi Kon and Inception by Christopher Nolan. I'm your host, Lugia, and with me are.
My name is Patty, and I'm disappointed neither of these movies were made by DreamWorks.
And I'm Red Drum Arts. I got nothing.
Dreams could be anything. You could be anything. Anything you want, anything you don't want.
What do you want?
I could go for a pizza right now, actually.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know.
Should we start with Paprika first, since that came out before?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first off, we have Paprika, directed by Satoshi Kon, who we're somewhat familiar with on this podcast. We talked about Tokyo Godfathers years ago.
I've mentioned that Perfect Blue is one of my favorite movies, if not my favorite movie. Have you guys seen Perfect Blue?
I have.
I have not.
All right. I'm actually curious to hear from you, Pat. Actually, you know what? First, we should probably explain the movie first.
Well, yes. First off, this movie had a budget of 300 million yen, which is about 2.6 million USD. And I think it only made about little under a million overall. So Paprika, the film, is an adaptation of a novel by the same name by Yatsutaka Tsutsi. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But Paprika, the film, was meant to release right after Perfect Blue. However, Rex Entertainment, which produced the films, went bankrupt, and it set the project about 8 years or so, because this came out in 2006. Perfect Blue came out in 1997. And Satoshi Kon did not believe that a straight adaptation of the novel would work, because the novel has so much meat to it that you could not make a single film out of it. So what he did was he took bits and pieces from Yatsutaka's other works and put them in Paprika the film. So he basically made it like some Yatsutaka, like a conglomerate of his ideas put into
Collage.
one film. Yes, a collage, using Paprika as the basis. So, what is Paprika about? Well, I'll try to make this as simple as possible. So, Atsuko Chiba is a scientist by day, and she goes by Paprika, which is an alter ego kind of by night that can explore dreams using something called the DC Mini. However, things begin to go awry as there are crimes being done within these dreams, and also dreams are merging together. So it's up to Paprika and her department to figure out who is behind this act of terrorism and to see if they can stop this combination of dreams.
So, Patrick, Tokyo Godfathers is the only Satoshi Kon movie you've seen, right?
Correct.
All right. So because of that, I'm very interested in what you thought of this movie, because Tokyo Godfathers is kind of the black sheep of his filmography, when Paprika is much more in line with what he does, like Paranoia Agent, Perfect Blue.
Yeah, I've seen Perfect
Magnetic
Blue, and I
Rose.
noted a few similarities between that movie and this one.
And there's also a lot of similarities with Magnetic Rose and Paranoia Agent, and even Millennium Actress. I feel like Millennium Actress is very similar in direction to how this movie is directed, and the other two are much
Okay.
more thematically in line. But Tokyo Godfathers, it is the most different one of his filmography. So I'm curious what you thought of this movie, given you had very different expectations than us, probably.
Okay, I went into this knowing it wouldn't be anything like Tokyo Godfathers because, well, I mean, Lugia selected Inception specifically, and this was just kind of tacked on. So, knowing Inception, I was like, okay, I know it's not going to be anything like Tokyo Godfathers. And yeah, this is a very different movie. It takes itself much more seriously. It's more complicated, but overall, I did think it was good. I do like Tokyo Godfathers more, just because I connected with the characters more in that one. I do
Yeah.
think the central idea of this film is very compelling.
As a diehard Satoshi Kon fan, he's one of my favorite directors ever. I will say my opinion on this movie is a little contradictory, as in I think it's his worst work, but I also think it's his best directed, because I cannot believe the imagery I was seeing. Although as a film, I don't really think it connects that strongly with me. But oh my god, the imagery is what the fuck?
I
How
can
did he
agree to that.
do
This movie is so visually compelling. It looks fucking beautiful. There's a lot of surreal imagery you can do with dreams, and I think Satoshi Kon implemented that very well in this film.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And again, I saw this movie after Inception. Like I saw Inception when that came out when I was a kid, and like I've seen it again before. And there's some imagery in here that's like Inception copies. But even having seen it before in Inception, like it still blows my mind here because like I don't know because maybe it's because of animation, but also I think it just goes further. Like the hallway scene in here where like he's running and then like the everything just sort of turns to like cloth or whatever. That was like ridiculous. And like there's a similar scene in Inception, but like it's
I do
much
think,
striking
at
here.
least visually speaking, a concept like this does lend itself better to animation. It does look great, and there are a lot of impressive moments there, but I think with the surreal nature of everything, it does lend itself better to this medium.
I think this is like much more of a strong experience. It's just I just feel like emotionally I was not
Like the plot
emotionally
itself is
didn't grab me.
fine. I don't think there's really much of a mystery to begin with because you kind of already get the idea that the chairman has something up his sleeve from the get-go.
Yeah, it's really nothing you haven't seen before.
Perfect Blue was a lot better when it came to its narrative and its characters, but Paprika definitely does excel with its imagery, though.
Yeah, no, again, I think the imagery and like the concept are like enough to make this worth a view. Just everything else around it is kind of like it's not its strongest.
You kind of have to accept that things happen throughout the film. Like, okay, now we're here, now we're here. Osanai turned on us, and he's got the hots for Paprika. I mean, Atsuko. It's fine. Like, it's not bad or
Those-
anything. I did enjoy Kanekawa's arc when
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had the when he was in high school. He was a film student, and he had a friend that they were working on films together, and that imagery is reflected in his dreams. And it's also nice how that also has its closure near the end with Osanai and how he's chasing him in the hall and he's fighting him back in the dreams we've seen before where he's constantly struggling against an unknown saboteur. Also, the giant Atsuko baby swallowing up the chairman from the arm. Wasn't expecting that. What the fuck was that about?
And people talk about sort of dreamlike logic in David Lynch movies. I could still follow the dream logic in David Lynch movies. Here, honestly, after a while, I just treat it like a roller coaster where I just kind of like enjoyed the ride when it comes
You
to
just
what
kind of
I've
like,
seen.
yeah, okay, I'll accept whatever. I think
And
because of that, like, there's not really much suspense or tension. 'Cause you're like, all right, anything can happen. So
it's more of like just watching like a beautiful parade, and I use parade carefully because obviously there's
There
a
is a
couple
parade
parade
scene.
sequences
there
in
is,
here.
yes, led by
Yeah,
refrigerators.
and what's funny is a lot of anime fans kind of like derisively, I think they unfairly call Inception a ripoff just because it has a similar idea and uses some similar shots. But I will say, I think Inception, for as confusing as people in America like to make it out to be, I don't think that movie is very confusing and it's very easy to sort of follow the emotional journey there.
That
So
film, at the very least, establishes its own rules from the get-go, so you already
yeah,
understand like how the dreams work, even if there is still like a little bit of suspension of
how did
disbelief that you need to
Iron-
apply.
ironically, I feel like it kind of explains it too much sometimes because I do kind of wish it had more fun with his dream logic. But I'd say like that movie is a lot more like I feel like a great movie to me is like something that's in between Paprika and Inception because I feel like both of them kind of hold me back a little bit. But anyway, since we're on Inception, I want to talk about that.
Oh, do we have anything about Paprika that we want to talk about, or should we just move on?
Great score.
Okay. So, Inception was directed by Christopher Nolan with a budget of $160 million and it made $839.4 million. This was fucking huge.
And in fact, I'm gonna say this is the movie that made Christopher Nolan's career because
Not even
he was
Dark
always
Knight.
like he was successful before. The Dark Knight was a huge movie, it was a huge franchise. But what made why this is the most important movie of his career is because it's original. This is the movie where like he put out an original idea, and was able to make a shit ton of money, and because of that, he just got a blank check for life, pretty much. He's allowed to make whatever movie he wants. Like this is a movie where like Christopher Nolan became like Christopher Nolan, where like his name alone is what sells a movie. Like people don't tend to watch original movies unless it's Christopher Nolan. If Christopher Nolan directed, then they'll be like, oh, okay, I'll give it a shot. He's like Tarantino. He's like one of the only directors where like his name alone will sell a picture. So
Just think how lucky we are to live at the same time as Christopher Nolan.
yeah. I mean I'm not a big fan of his movies, but like
Damn.
I appreciate his role in the industry.
All right, just a couple things before we get into the nitty gritty. So initially, Inception wasn't going to be a heist film, but it was envisioned to be a horror film. And I mean, there is
That's
something you could do with jumping into dreams and making a horror scenario about that. Maybe have the villain be the one jumping into dreams, or vice versa.
Yes. What if there was a villain who showed up in your dreams? Perhaps had a claw hand, and his skin was all charred, and his name was Freddy Krueger.
But no, that didn't come to be.
I do think this movie has like some horror sequences. Like some of the sequences with his wife freaked me out as a kid. Like it didn't freak me out as much this time, but I remember like watching it, was like, oh yeah, that freaked me out as a child.
There is a lot of tension built up within those scenes, definitely, though. So, this film was pitched to Warner Brothers back in 2001, right after Memento. However, in order to see this film fully complete the way that Nolan wanted, he figured he should hold off and get experience making more expensive films, which is where films like The Dark Knight comes in, because after that point, he felt like he was ready. This is the first time Nolan worked with Leonardo DiCaprio, despite the fact that he wanted to for years now. But scheduling conflicts could not allow him to do so until now. Something interesting is that when Nolan did The Dark Knight, he used IMAX cameras for like a grand sense of scale for the movie. He refused to do that for this one. He felt like that the dream sequences should have a realistic feel to them, so that way you can't really tell apart what are dreams and what's reality.
I would argue that like before The Dark Knight, a lot of his movies, he used to shoot them in a completely different way, and then once he started using IMAX, he completely changed his style. So even though he didn't shoot it in IMAX, his style has clearly shifted because he shot in IMAX for The Dark Knight.
Right.
And ironically, I feel like the movie only works because his style shifted. Because if you remember, like Memento or like Batman Begins or like The Prestige, he would do a lot more like close-ups, a lot more shit. He wouldn't like put the camera back and just let you see this crazy imagery. And I feel like his style like very much came from the better because he started using IMAX. So even though he doesn't actually use IMAX in here, I feel like you can still see the influence that had on his style, which I think greatly improved this movie. I think this movie probably would have sucked if he shot it like his earlier movies, but because he didn't, it's pretty good.
So, what is Inception about? Dom Cobb is a thief who has the ability to enter into other people's dreams. This is how he gets information out of them. Basically, like, if they know a code, he goes into their brain, he gets the code from their brain and applies that to whatever combination, whatever safe that he needs. Stuff like that. He and his gang try to brainjack a man named Saito, who's the head of an energy corporation. It does not go well. They get caught, but Saito gives them a chance to redeem themselves by having them go into the brain of the head of a rival energy company, Robert Fisher. However, to do this, they need to do Inception, which is going even deeper into dreams. They need to have a dream within a dream within a dream.
You know what I always thought was funny? The term Inception, people always use it to refer to the dream inside a dream inside a dream thing. That's not actually what it means. The Inception is like
Inception is the start of an
how.
idea.
Also, how they use it in the movie is like they clearly meant as like interception. As like in the movie, they clearly use it to like the idea of like planting the idea in someone else's head. Because Inception means the start of an idea. In the movie, they're clearly like referring to like interception, and the within a dream, within a dream, within a dream thing. That's just not given a term.
Maybe
That's
someone
just what
within
happens.
maybe someone in marketing didn't hear the "ter" part of the title.
So, this was my first time seeing Inception. I don't know about Patty. You said you saw it when you were a kid, right?
Actually, my story with Inception, I wanted to see it when I was a kid. I didn't know who Christopher Nolan was at the time, but I just remember seeing the trailer and thinking that looks cool as hell. But I remember when the movie came out, everybody around me told me it was really complicated, and so I never saw it until just now.
I've never thought a Christopher Nolan movie was as complicated as people made it out to be, except maybe Tenet. But even Tenet, it's like it's pretty easy to follow the character arcs. It's just like the actual nitty gritty doesn't work. But like I don't know, here I thought it was pretty easy to follow. But yeah, I saw this movie when I was 10 and it first came out. What's funny though is I fell asleep when I first saw it.
You had a
My
dream about
family
the
was
movie about dreams.
my family was out like in New York when we saw it, and it was just pretty late at night, so I just sort of I couldn't like keep myself up because I was a kid, and 10 p.m. is that's like a normal time for a child to sleep, right? I fell asleep watching it, but I've seen it a couple times like since then.
Look,
Oddly
have you
enough,
ever?
like what'd you say?
I was asking Lugia a question. Have you ever
Like,
fallen asleep in a movie theater?
In a movie theater, no.
I think this was like the only time that ever happened, but it was again I was like a little kid, and it was pretty late at night.
Yeah, no, I remember when I saw Cars in theaters, actually, I remember falling asleep because that was a late screening.
Oh, I fell asleep when I saw that Illumination the Grinch movie. I didn't want to see it. I just like brought my cousins to it because they wanted to, and I just did not give a shit. So like my brain just checked out. And what's really funny is when I fell asleep, we were following the short, and then I fell asleep, and then when I woke up again, we were still following the short. So I was just wondering, I was asleep for like an hour. What the hell was like in that hour where like I everything I saw was what the original short was. So like I was trying to figure
Honestly,
out what all the filler was.
honestly, not much.
By the way, here's a weird thing. I was just criticizing Paprika. I think Inception is a much easier movie to follow, and it has a much clearer emotional journey. I still think I like Paprika more, which is I know it's a weird thing to say after like I pretty much said that I only like Paprika as like a visual collage. But even though like Inception gives me a much more clear journey and arc, I still just think it's okay. Like, is that weird? Because
I
like
would disagree, but I understand where you're coming from.
I follow Leo's journey and all that stuff, but I don't really care about Leo's journey that much. That's kind of an issue a lot of Christopher Nolan movies where I feel like I don't care about the characters that much. I think Memento's like the only movie where I think the character is compelling, and it's only because of like the ending choice he makes, which makes me like every time I rewatch a movie, like that choice kind of like really sticks out and really like Memento's like a movie where like a lot of the character choices are just very compelling, so it really sticks with me when like with this Batman trilogy. I do not care about Batman. I think Batman is the worst part of his Batman trilogy. I watched the trilogy for all the side characters and the villains, which feels weird. And like that similar thing with like Inception, where like I think it's like a
Have you
solid
seen
arc, but I
Have you
don't
seen
care.
Dunkirk? Because based on that, I don't think you'd like Dunkirk.
Part of me thinks I would like Dunkirk because I hear that for that one, that's just about the experience, and like that's the thing. I liked Paprika because like it didn't even like bother like making you care. It was just like a sensory thing. So I haven't seen Dunkirk.
Maybe,
It's the
I
only
get.
Nolan
I don't
movie I
know.
haven't seen.
Dunkirk doesn't really have a main character. It's a bunch of people.
I don't know. My favorite parts of Saving Private Ryan is like the opening sequence. So like part
But
of me thinks I like Dunkirk.
maybe,
So I don't
who
know.
knows? Maybe a future episode. I don't know.
And also like I'm ragging on Inception a little bit, but like I want to make it clear, Inception to me is one of the better Christopher Nolan movies. Like I still like it.
But you
I'd
still
probably
don't like
watch this
Christopher
more.
Nolan as a whole.
Well, yeah, because this is one of the better Christopher Nolan movies. I think Christopher Nolan has three movies that are really, really good: Oppenheimer, Dark Knight, and Memento. The rest I don't really care about, but I'd say like Inception is the best of the rest. But that's the thing, like I don't like Batman Begins. The Prestige is like I don't know. I don't find it like filmically compelling. Tenet is like too stupid, and The Dark Knight Rises is really stupid. Inception, it's not stupid, and all the character arcs are good. It functions well, and it's like got an interesting idea. It's just visually, it's not as exciting as I'd want. The character arcs aren't really they function, but they're just not that strong. Like I'm just not really like drawn to it. It's just a perfectly functional movie with a cool idea, and the cool idea just kind of loses a little bit because now that I've seen Inception, Paprika, now it doesn't even have that novelty. So to me, it's just like an okay movie that does an okay idea, okay, and like that's the best way I can say it. It's just a solid film, but
So
that's
it's
all
the
it
most.
is.
So it's the most okayest okay movie that ever came out of Oklahoma.
Yes. Although I'm
That
pretty
was
sure
that
this
was a
movie
stupid.
is shot
Yes,
in
that
like
was a
New
that was a
York.
stupid joke, but I saw my opportunity and seized it. But
So you said people who have seen Paprika and Inception have cited that Inception plagiarized Paprika. Would you
Um,
agree with that, or
I would not agree because like even though it lifts a couple shots and clearly there's a similar premise, like that's not nothing new in movies. A lot of movies can have the same premise. I don't understand like why everyone gets so precious about certain movies. It's like, oh, you can't steal this movie's idea. But I'm like, why are you fine with other movies like taking the same idea? Like I don't know, like why is slasher movies a genre and not just Halloween ripoffs? Like that's to me the question. Versus like this, where like, oh, just because it's two, I was like, yeah, obviously it's two. It's not even two, it's three technically because I've seen Nightmare on Elm Street 5. It gets fucking weird. But anyway, I don't see how it's a ripoff. Especially because this is a heist movie and Paprika is not. And this movie very clearly follows like the rules of a heist movie. It's very clearly structured like a heist movie. That's also why I never really got why people are so confused about it because like if you've seen any heist movie, it's not hard to follow. And like I feel like he does a pretty good job juggling all the plot lines. Like it's clearly like one guy is relegated to one dream, and then you just cut between that dream, and it's like pretty easy to understand like the flow of time because it's always like cutting it in order.
I
It's
will
always
agree
like
with you on that. I don't understand what everybody around me was saying. This was not a very difficult movie to follow, especially since like the first hour is basically explaining everything.
when I
yeah.
first heard of Inception, I didn't think it was about dreams. I thought it was about like things happening one after. How do I explain this? So
Like illusions.
illusions, kind of like one reality seeps into
That's
another
prestige.
reality, and it's just constantly
That's
going
prestige.
down into a spiral. I didn't think it was a dream within a dream within a dream, and it just locked itself in like 4 layers. That's it. I thought it would be like a never-ending cycle, kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once, but if it wasn't a web, it was like a spiral downwards, and it just kept going there.
Honestly, I thought the city like folding in on itself was gonna be like a bigger deal, but it was just like demonstrated once to show what you can do.
You do almost think that there's going to be much more of an unraveling, but it's pretty like evenly structured. It's not like it doesn't feel like reality is collapsing on itself or anything like that's strange. And like even like in terms of sequences, it's not like one sequence is like kind of like a lot of it is very James Bond inspired because like the snow sequence is just like it's like taken from like Honor Majesty's Secret Service, like the kind of similar skiing sequences there. It's a very classic James Bond
Yeah.
thing. Then there's like the hallway fight, which is also very classic James Bond. So that's
Wasn't
kind of interesting
Nolan
to me. It's like
asked?
a heist.
Wasn't Nolan like in consideration to direct the next Bond movie?
Yes, Christopher Nolan is a huge James Bond fan. He's tried to have direct a James Bond movie for years, but he always keeps getting sidetracked and just putting Bond elements in like. So he puts like a very Bond element to his like Batman movies, which makes sense. Like billionaire playboy, Bond. There's kind of similar. So he puts like Bond elements to a heist movie here. Puts Bond elements to a lot of his stuff really. It's kind of a running thing, but yeah. I think the two movies that left the biggest impression on Christopher Nolan's life was Heat by Michael Mann and Honor Majesty's Secret Service because he references those movies so much. Obviously, I imagine Paprika at least left a big enough impression for him to. Actually, no, he said he wanted to make Inception after Memento, right?
Yeah, back in 2001.
I mean, technically, Satoshi Kon had the idea before him, but yeah, he
You
hadn't
said
seen
Paprika's
Paprika.
based on a book. When was the book published?
Obviously, yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but it's in
Mhm.
Japanese. Like, I don't think it's ever been translated, unless Christopher Nolan secretly knows Japanese. And
I don't know. I think we've established it doesn't matter like that both these
yeah,
movies are
I mean, he
similar.
clearly took influence from it. Let's see. Yeah, he clearly took influence from it, but
But it's not like a carbon copy or anything, far from it.
I feel like what happened is he had this idea to make a dream movie, and then he decided to Google like other movies about dreams, and then he watched Paprika, and I was like, oh, this. Let me take a couple of these visual ideas. Like, I don't think like he saw Paprika first, and then was like, oh, I'm gonna need to make a movie just like this. I feel like it was like the other way around, where like he came up with the idea first, and then he saw Paprika, and then he decided to to draw a bit from it. Again, there is a even though I think Paprika looks better, there is a novelty to actually seeing in real life. The
Okay,
city
so
stuff was like still kind of crazy to me.
enough ramblings about inspirations. Lugia, what did you think of Inception?
I really liked it. I enjoyed it like all the way through. Granted, some of the emotional beats didn't really land for me, but I think the stuff that they did with Dom and his arc with his wife trying to learn to let go, the fact that he can't see his kids, how his memories are what's kind of keeping him intact, but also seeping into everyone else's dreams and nearly sabotaging the whole mission. I thought that was great. That last act, when they're going into Fisher's brain and doing the whole Inception thing, going layer to layer to layer, I thought that was masterfully done.
Man, that whole
I think the
sequence.
editing of this movie is really good. Yeah.
Once the first hour is done and like you get the lay of the land of how this world works and they go into the dream and they go deeper and deeper into the layers and how they all have their different ways with how time works within each other and how stuff in one dream can affect another dream. That whole thing was just fantastic.
I want to make very clear. I've been complaining about the story and stuff. I think this movie is technically, I find it very compelling. I love how it's edited, the way like it jumps between all the different things. And again, like I actually think it's a feat because like I do understand conceptually why it would be confusing. So I think it's very impressive that he was able to kind of juggle everything so well. The ending almost kind of reminded me of like you ever seen like a Mission Impossible movie where like it cuts between all the different guys doing a mission and they
Yeah.
all kind of like it reminds me of that, except like it feels much more unique. Again, like it's very spy movie influence, but like I feel like it's so much more unique than a lot of those spy movies. So like it's really sticks out to me. I feel like a lot of people don't give this movie enough credit because it's so influential. Certainly for me, when I first saw it as a kid, it was like blew my mind because there was no movie that ever had a score like this before. And this movie is so influential that almost like every action movie after very much try to rip off this movie score since. But no, it was like people forget the Hans Zimmer Bois. This was the first movie to ever have that.
Huh.
Because do you know where the Bois came from?
Where'd the bois come from?
the song that they're playing when they go into the dream, that French song,
Yeah.
the bois is just that song being slowed to like an unbelievable degree.
You sound like a
Really?
fucking rabbit.
Yeah, it's like the whole idea is that every time like you go into the dream, like it obviously gets slower and slower and slower. So like the bois, this sinister bois, is literally just that song, but it's just like slowed down to such a level. It's just like an eerie bass. Filmically, like in terms of editing, score, and like even though I don't think the imagery is as good as Inception as Paprika, like there's like a novelty. So like I think filmically it's really good. So like I don't think like it's one of like Christopher Nolan's best movies, but like I definitely think it's like it's very good. Like I would definitely say it's good. It's like I don't want like people to get wrong. Like this is definitely a recommend. It's just I like Paprika like just a little bit more because I feel like it's just a lot more visually compelling. But like you'll never see a movie quite like this, including Paprika. I mean, I do love how Satoshi Kon edits. It's a very like very snappy sort of editing, and he likes to flow things together a lot more. When this one is much more like just classic juggling scenes together type editing, but I feel like he does that together very well.
Honestly, I wish I saw this movie in theaters now, especially like IMAX or something.
Dude, that would have been crazy.
Yeah,
Um,
Maybe one day it'll get re-released. I mean, its
yeah,
15th anniversary is this year, so maybe.
maybe its 20th anniversary. He'll have.
I do have one small complaint about Inception before we wrap up. So there's
Yeah.
like a big twist that happens like near the end because like Dom is like still thinking about his wife that's still getting to the dreams and all that. There's supposed to be like some sort of twist where it's revealed that he planted the idea in her mind that like everything's a dream and if they just die in the dream they can wake up to reality.
The idea is that like they do this like dream stuff so much like her kind of like her sense of reality kind of gets like put out of whack, and that's why she kills herself. But and the end of the movie is meant to sort of be like a thematic tie up to that, because you actually see that Dom himself kind of doubts whether he's in a dream, so he spins it. And Christopher Nolan's intentions were, which I think he kind of messes up a little bit, but he intended that like point of the ending isn't that like whether is he in a dream or not, it's the fact that he doesn't actually he walks away. You know,
Yeah,
he
he
leaves
doesn't
it,
see he doesn't see the top fall over.
although I would argue he kind of failed, because I feel like if he was going to do that, he should have put the emphasize that Dom looked away instead of emphasizing the top. And even though we see the top wobble at the end, like a lot of people to this day question whether like they're in a dream or not. But like no, he's obviously not in a dream at the end. But I like the sort of like what he was going for there. I just think he kind of like messed it up a little bit. But yeah, I think I thought that part was kind of cool, clever.
But like the actual twist where like he was the one basically responsible for his wife's death. I don't think that really did anything for the movie as a whole. That didn't really go anywhere. Like he still has to learn to let go. Like that's ultimately the whole point. So that didn't really add much.
I think that dude there's that he had a difficult time letting go because he was so guilty. But I don't know. That's the best I can think of.
Sorry,
Like
Inception.
I don't know, man. It's
but-
like it's your wife dying. Like I would imagine like you'd feel guilty regardless of whether you thought you were to blame.
I'm sorry, Inception, but you're not up.
But I guess my big criticism, I just think it explains itself too much. Honestly, I feel like if you just start this movie from the second half and you just like had the idea that you can go and drink, like it would still be pretty easy to follow, just because like
It's in
just because the
different
way he
layers of
edits it and
consciousness,
stuff.
basically.
Yeah, like just the way he edits it is pretty easy to follow. So like the first half almost just feels kind of like unnecessary, especially because like 75% of the dialogue is just exposition. So like you don't even like get a good idea of the characters. So like I don't
Actually,
know.
that would be an interesting experiment. Get somebody who's never seen Inception and start it at the hour mark and see if they can follow it.
This weird movie to me where I almost feel like I'm impressed by how accessible it is, but I also think he went too hard trying to make it accessible. So it kind of undercuts the more important parts of a movie, which is the emotional journey. And like I think it's kind of funny because again he's super influenced by James Bond. I'm gonna be honest, the plot of most James Bond movies are completely nonsense, and like the full picture is never like really that important. It's just like on the moment to moment you just need to understand. And I feel like well, actually, I was going to say, I feel like Christopher Nolan should honestly learn more from Bond that to explain this much. But I remembered he actually did, and that's exactly what he did with Tenet. So, good job, Christopher Nolan. Tenet, I feel like is like kind of underrated, honestly. I need to rewatch them.
You said it was stupid.
Tenet, it's stupid, but like it's cool. Like I don't know, it's a much dumber idea, but I feel like he kind of executes it in a more interesting way, if that makes sense. Because like Inception, dreams inside dreams, that's just like inherently kind of cool. But with Tenet, it's like some of the world is backwards and some of it is forwards. And I'm like, all right, like that's just a dumber premise. It's kind of harder to wrap your head around to begin with. But like when you just watch the movie, if you just like let it like wash over you, like you can follow the emotional journey. Like I get it. Maybe that's why he did it that way. Like I feel like he realized that Tenet is such a dumb idea that like probably shouldn't even bother to try to explain it correctly. I'm just gonna tell people. I'm just
I saw
gonna overload people in a way
interviews
like
that
they just learn to
I've
just
seen
accept the
interviews that
premise.
even the actors in Tenet, like they're like, I have no idea what the fuck is going on. Like, I'm
Like I
trying
don't
my
know,
best to think about how would this character react in this scene.
I
I don't know.
understand
I'm
the
giving it
character
my best
journey.
shot.
I understand the character journey of all the of the characters in Tenet, but like actually trying to explain the plot of Tenet, I can't. I can't explain the plot of Tenet, but I can explain you the character arcs, the journey, like the
It's
emotional
trying to
journey.
stop World War III by going backwards in a
But they
world
don't
that's
really go
moving
backwards. They go
forwards,
forwards, but they also go. I don't know. It's
up and down and
Or they
all
go
around. I don't know.
sideways.
no Inception. They go sideways.
Actually,
Yeah.
speaking of that, we didn't even bring up the hallway scene, arguably
The
the most
hallway
famous
scene
scene in the movie.
or the city where they walk up the wall and they play around with the mirrors.
I think the car chase scene was pretty fun.
The train coming in the middle of the city.
The car chase scene is just really funny to me because they keep cutting back to it, and you just see them like knocked out, like asleep, while like all this carnage is happening around them. That kind of cracked me up.
Actually, the bit that made me chuckle was in the second layer of dreams. In the second dream layer, Arthur, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, is the only one who isn't in a deeper sleep. So his job is to basically get everybody in the elevator while they're asleep. And it just made me chuckle seeing like him take all these people and basically put them in like a giant ball form while they're asleep. I don't know, that got a little bit of a laugh out of
While
me.
flying, because the
Yeah.
car that they're in the other layer is like in suspense and falling off the bridge.
And this is a weird question. I feel like Inception would make a fun video game.
It actually was going to have a video game adaptation at some point. But
Oh.
nothing ever really came out of it.
I feel like it'd be fun to do like a Hitman type game or like Metal Gear Solid or something like that.
Again, maybe for the 20th they'll finally release it. No, probably not.
Anything else?
Decent heist movie, cool idea, well executed, great score. Just a very solidly put together movie. Yeah.
Well, I really liked this one, and I know I'll definitely be coming back to it at some point.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, I've rewatched this movie.
Hopefully in a movie theater.
Maybe we'll see.
A man can
Maybe.
dream. A
They
man
bring
can
back
dream.
old movies in the theaters like Jaws and Jurassic Park. You never know when a relatively modern film could get the spotlight again.
Yeah. So I guess
Good.
we recommend both movies.
Oh, definitely.
Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Okay, Patty, what do you recommend for next week?
Okay, all right. So I will be ending our streak of double features. You know,
I thought I
think
would, but here we are.
well, I think 3 in a row is more than enough for now. That's not the only streak I'll be ending though, because we've had a string of classics and classic movies and like modern classics. From what I understand, okay, I've never seen this movie before. I doubt you guys have either, but from what I understand, it is a real stinker. And
Oh, right.
Like a watch it together type of stinker?
Is it a Phil
Probably.
Niblink film?
It's not a Phil Niblink film.
Just making sure.
Is it
It's
anyone
not.
we've talked about before?
No, but let me give some build up first. So, this movie stars a singer who I have been listening to a lot of recently, and she doesn't do much in terms of acting, but this was her film debut and her most prominent film role.
Taylor Swift
So-
film, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not a Taylor Swift. It's not Cats, if that's what you're thinking. No.
Is it Madonna? Also, that's not
No.
Taylor Swift's debut. Taylor Swift's debut is the Lorax. Get it right.
Right. Well, whatever. No. Again, I doubt you guys have seen this one. Next week's movie is a little film from 2003 called From Justin to Kelly.
Oh, I have heard of that movie. That's the American Idol movie.
Yep. Starring
Yeah.
Kelly Clarkson and Justin, what's his name?
Oh.
Yeah. So when for some reason they obviously dropped this after the first year, but when American Idol, the way the American Idol works is like obviously if you win, you get a record deal contract, right?
They got a
the thing
movie.
is- Yeah, see, so Kelly Clarkson got the record deal contract, but both the first and second place got a movie made. I don't know why. It's such a
I've
bizarre-
read into the history. I'll go more into it next week, but yeah, this has been on my mind basically the entire summer.
Yep.
Should we
Also
watch this
funny-
together or should we watch it by ourselves?
it'd be rude if we didn't watch it together.
We
Okay.
should watch it together. No,
It's
really
it's not
funny.
it's like a very
Pat,
short movie.
Yeah, it's only an hour
Patty, you're not gonna
30.
believe this. Patty, you're not gonna
What?
believe this. Literally, like an hour ago, an hour before we started recording, I watched the Todd in the Shadows review from Justin DeKelly. Just because it was on my YouTube recommended. I was like, yeah, sure. I don't remember this review. So yeah, that's just a funny coincidence.
Okay.
All right. Well, this has been another episode of It's Always Sunny in Hollywood. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for listening or watching or however you view this podcast. And until then, sweet dreams.